Thanks,
There we
Tim.
go. We know some people couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And Tom, thanks for joining us, and all you guys really appreciate Tara and Jeff for your guys' work to pull this meeting together. Much needed by our members, and we're looking forward to hearing you guys out and hearing your partners out. So Tara, I'll hand the microphone over to you first, or Jeff, who wants to go first?
That's great, Tim. Thanks for making sure to host us with Zoom. I'm actually going to hand it to Jeff because he's really the leader when it comes to this meeting.
Yeah. Afternoon. I hope you guys are doing well. Tara Ree, I hope you're feeling better from this morning. So we've got a couple of folks here specific to transportation, school transportation, because there is a lot of questions coming up about fleets, school bus fleets, transition to electric fleets at some point. So we've got Andrew Peters, who is from our Office of School Transportation on today, and then also Heather Choi, who's going to be a sit-in. She's going to be answering as many questions as she can, with the idea that she would come back with a bit more of a detailed presentation in the near future. So I think what we're going to be doing is just kind of opening it up to questions, and then as they come in, either Andrew, Heather, or even Tara or I could take them and kind of move with them. So
Jeff, let me just suggest that we have Andrew and Heather just introduce themselves.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you mind doing the honors to get us started?
I sure can. Thank you, Tara. My name is Andrew Peters. I'm a transportation programs consultant here with the California Department of Education's Office of School Transportation. And while we have particular regions of the state that we work in, each one of us consultants works with the instructor training program here at the Office of School Transportation, along with serving as transportation kind of management consultants for LEAs and school bus contractors throughout the state. So happy to be here and fill in the gaps, and I'll let you know a little bit more about our program later in the presentation.
Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Choi from the California Air Resources Board, and I'm really excited to be here today and to get introduced to this new group. I work for the California Air Resources Board on several school bus incentive projects, and help develop some of the guidelines and the requirements that we put forth for our funding programs. And so, yes, there's definitely a lot of money coming. It's also from the US EPA. I'm sure you guys have heard about the infrastructure bill funds too. So I did send a bunch of information to Jeff. And so hopefully you guys can take a look at that information. But I'm here today to try and answer some questions, but a lot of it might be where I will get back to you. So I'll do the best I can, but I'm happy to be here.
All right. Thank you, Heather. It's really good to meet you. I've just, been on emails with you. I'm very grateful you're here. Heather, did you say you're with the Air Resources Board? I'm sorry.
Yes, the California Air Resources Board.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. And Andrew, we're so glad you're here. I didn't know much about our school transportation office, which shows my deficits as a CDE employee realistically. But I think now we are very fortunate to be with folks from kind of two sides of the angle. I mean, Andrew works for the CDE and Heather works for a totally separate agency. I think that's the right thing to call it, right, Heather?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're set though. As Jeff said, you guys, he's going to be kind of the MC, but you all can just kind of unmute and do questions, I think, because we're a small enough group for that right now.
And I'm also going to go ahead. Tim, do you think it would be best if I just forwarded you like a one pager of those links that Heather was talking about and you blast it out to your folks?
Yeah, that'd be great. I put it in today's meeting, but I'd love to have yours. That'd be great. We'll shoot it out to everybody.
Awesome. Great. Thanks.
Could one of you speak to just the expectations on school districts going forward as to, how the timelines, I guess, that we're expected to modernize this fleet and be all electric?
I'm assuming, so the California Resources Board is a regulatory agency. We do set up emission standards for a variety of vehicles, including school buses. But right now there's a lot of, so we've been working more on diesel regulations through our truck and bus regulation, which is now sunsetting. So we really focused on cleaning up diesel first. And so now we're looking at incentivizing and really transitioning our entire fleet in California to a zero emission fleet. So that's going to be a variety of technology types. And for school buses, right now it is battery electric, are what the models are that are available now. And so there is confusion with any regulations on the school bus industry to transition to zero emission. And right now, there isn't a regulation stating that you have to do anything different than what you're doing now. There's an incentive, though, to transition now because there is so much money in incentive dollars coming not only from the California state legislature, but also from the US EPA. So there is some information that I will gather to help you guys learn more about the regulations that you will be subject to. But school districts, especially public school districts, are generally exempt from a lot of regulations that we do on vehicles. But yeah, hopefully that answers some of your questions. So there has been, I think the one thing that I'm still trying to learn more is there's some emission standards that are coming into play. And so for new diesel school buses that are being like manufactured in the next couple of years, those might be obsolete at some point. So I think that's more of where we're trying to figure out, because diesel engines last so long that, you know, will they run longer than our regulations and that kind of work, if that makes sense.
Heather, this is Terry Rufford. I'm the president of SSDA, and one of the reasons we've been talking to Tara and Jeffrey about this is although we're not opposed to the idea of going electric and all that, but there are some infrastructures and some issues that we have with implementing it. So I know that that's why Tim wanted Tom and why we're all here about the implementation. So because I think we all were under the understanding that we all had to be by, I don't know, 2030, 2035 or whatever the date was. So that's kind of good to hear. But really that's one of our, and I'll let the rest of the group talk to you, but when we talk to superintendents, it's the implementation of it and what needs to go into it and some of the weaknesses in the system right now that we found. So we're hoping that those can be fixed before we have to go too far, especially for some people that have to travel really far. So thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that, but I will give it back over to you, Tom.
One other thing I just want to add is because this is all new funding, we have a lot of public work group. Oh, sorry. We have a lot of public work group opportunities coming up where oh, hi, Scott. Where we are going to want a lot of your input. So I'm really excited that I'm connecting in with this group now because we have been working on a lot of these issues, a lot of these tools and resources to help fleets think about the future and how to make this happen effectively. And so we are, I mean, it's just really great timing. I think 2022 and 2023 are just going to be an amazing year for school buses, which is what I said in January, and look at where we are now. So I don't know, I think it's pretty exciting.
So I guess as we continue, who does I have a litany. So who else has some questions or something you want to bring up?
Keep going, T.
Okay. Gosh darn, I gotta look here. So Heather, you brought up an interesting point. We were told the other day by one of the bus suppliers that we get quotes from that they're going to stop making California compliant diesel buses, which, you know, for where I live, which was -2 on Monday, and we got about a foot of snow over the weekend. That's not an option for us. I mean, our closest competitor athletically is 70 miles. So, and that's going over 1, 2, 3 mountain passes, and that technology just isn't there. So I guess I'm concerned about the fallout because California is such a significant state in the union that if we're setting these emission standards and it's going to impact us being able to get buses that we need to survive, I don't know, that's a concern.
You're not the only one, and yeah, that's definitely one of the topics we'll be addressing through our public work group.
Heather, the other thing that ties in with that is I know all this money and incentives is coming down, but it also makes us hesitant about grabbing it up right away if the infrastructure isn't there. Not that I don't love having that incentive and the money to be able to do that. That's a great idea. So I'm not knocking that at all. That's wonderful. But it's a little bit because of the unknown, as I'm sure you understand and have heard, it makes it a little bit hesitant to buy into it.
And if I
So
could add
maybe-
on.
Yeah, this might help also because I've been in this for a while and not talking to you guys. So I just feel like all of a sudden I feel like there's a lot of history that you're not caught up on yet. And so I just want to let you know also that what we are working on is the infrastructure tie-in with school buses. So it used to be when we did incentive projects for school, like a battery electric school bus to get switched over, it was a pilot. So we were, you can get one school bus and then we'll give you one charger. It was very one-on-one, piloted out. We've learned from that pilot that doesn't work. We need a fleet plan. The utilities need a fleet plan. They need more information before they go and dig up the earth. So I absolutely, we're tracking right with you guys on all that stuff.
Jeremy, you had
Oh, sorry, Tom. I'm going to tag on with Tom. I'm in Oroville, but I have 6 electric buses and they get about 140 on a charge unless I have to run the defroster or the air conditioner during the summer. And some days I'm lucky that they can get back in the barn. And I only have them on my short routes. But if I'm going to be forced to go to an all-electric fleet, and I have the infrastructure, I was one of the first ones up here to get in with PG&E to put in, we're working on putting a charging station and all of that, but they don't charge very fast. So we need to have the option to have something that can go further than 140 miles on a charge, because Tom's right. If I go to Reading, that's going to be probably 80 miles one way. And if I can't charge that bus in Reading, then I've got to come back. So I think that's where we're panicking a little bit, is if you're in the city, you have short bus routes, and electric bus works fine, but mountains, long distances, they're problematic. Here's the other thing. We're looking at safety issues with some of these, because if you can't run the defroster because you're worried about the battery discharging, that's a safety issue for the driver. And there's got to be a better way than just going all electric or propane or whatever. I think there has to be an option to have the zero emission or the biodiesel or whatever for some of us. My district is 647 square miles. Okay, so I'm in the mountains, I'm in the snow, I'm in the heat. And now then I'm worried about, I'm hearing that the battery replacement could be more than what I pay for a diesel bus right now. So I have a lot of concerns about that.
Jeremy, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was just going to echo a little bit of what you were saying and what Corey was saying. One of my concerns is, this idea of inequity between some of the larger metropolitan areas that have the ability to purchase these buses. I'm up in rural Northern California right now, and I just don't have there's not, I've spoken with Corey, there's no incentive necessarily for me to invest in this at this point. But other, larger, more urban, they're maybe getting all the investment, all the infrastructure. And I think when it comes time to do this, the practicality doesn't fit now for my district. And when the time comes where we're going to have to do this, the funding is not going to be available. So I think there needs to be consideration and or some discussion about, about that, or set aside or something, to that effect. for all the reasons that Corey has spoken about.
So
So
one
the-
of the things I want to
Go
make
ahead,
sure that, so I'm not up in the mountains, I'm in the middle of Tulare. However, some of the same issues that they talked about are some concerns from the people in Tulare County, and that maybe don't have all the mountainy roads, but maybe have farther to go. And so one of the things that we're going to say, I think the length of how far they can go, or to be able to buy buses that can go different, however it is, might help, because some of us we use our buses for field trips. And so to have that flexibility may help, or if it's not, then the longer they can go, the better off for all of us. More so in the mountains, but even some of us in the city, I'm a rural city, I'm not LA, I'm not that urban, but it's still, I don't know that it's just a small school thing either. I think it's in general. I know the bigger high school district that we feed into has had to get more buses because they can't finish their routes in the morning and then get their kids to go between the different high schools for the different pathways that they have, or to go to the ag farm and come back and then have them charged enough to take all those kids home. And they're a bigger school district. So, and they're in the middle. I mean, they have a far, we're still country, so we still have a far way to go. So that being able to go farther on a charge is huge, because we don't have enough charging stations at this point, or that rapid charging station where they can do it real quick to be able to get to those places. And then the other thing, I'm married to an electrician, so I got my head filled with the infrastructure that needs to go in for a fast charging thing. And a lot of us, like my school district, would not be set up to put one of those in, because I don't have, and to run the other things as well. I had never even thought about that. I'd be okay with the regular charging ones, but not the fast charging ones. So if you need more information on that, I will put him with you, but that's more electrical talk. And I just kind of shake my head and say, I get it. So, but those are, once again, it's not to say that it shouldn't be done. It's just, those are things to think about as we're moving forward.
So right now, my district, we just got the EPA grant to the tune of about 2.3 million. And I had a board meeting last week and told them the information I've gathered at this point, just so you all know, from people who are running them, they're getting about 40 miles loaded, and they'll get about 70 with a driver only, is what I'm being told. And they absolutely do not run them in the winter or when it's cold, because you can't turn the heaters on. Like Corey was saying, then you can't run the defroster. For us, that's 30 days is what we think. Out of our 180 days of school, we can get 30 where we could actually be warm enough to run the bus, not need the defrosters or anything like that. The other thing, that there's one brand now, is my understanding, that actually has storage underneath, but we need tire chains for our buses because of snow. And if there's no storage, there's nowhere to put the chains. And we haven't found out if they can put auto chains on there. You can actually have chains installed on the frame of the bus. We just don't know if they can take that. The EPA grant does not allow you to put on any kind of extra heat that burns fossil fuels. If you're going to put another heater on there, you have to have more batteries and more electricity. So you can't boost the heater. The batteries, I've been told 20 to 40,000 per battery, and there's 5 on there. So diesel bus quotes are coming in about 230, and batteries are going to be maybe 200,000. So again, it really feels like I talked to a gentleman who runs Washoe County transportation for Washoe County schools, and they're buying 2. And he just said, I don't think it's going to work. I'm not warm and fuzzy about it. So, California being such a geographically diverse state, where we go from, the deserts to where I'm at in the Sierra, it definitely doesn't fit all of us as far as the regs go. It just doesn't.
Heather, have you guys talked to the electric companies too about the times that I don't know about buses, so I can't speak to that. So I apologize for that. But I do know there's times that we're not allowed to charge electric vehicles. So is our buses gonna be exempt from that?
Hi, Terry. Yeah, that would be, that's a little bit more deep into the weeds of multiple agencies that have to kind of decide on how that works. But these are all things that we are thinking through and working with a group of other agencies like CPUC, the Energy Commission, the Cal ISO. So there's a lot of agencies working on all of these issues that you have brought up here today. And so I'm really glad that you're thinking about them too. And so when I come back, I will have a fantastic presentation for you, and we'll be able to answer a lot of the questions and show you a lot of the background of the work that we've already done and how we're learning lessons from that work, and listening to the folks now and looking at what they need to try and help you guys all transition. So yeah, I hear you on all of these points. I do need to leave, so I didn't want to abruptly just log off, but I did just let you guys know I will come back and I'll have a presentation. So, and I also want to just make it more known that you're not alone, and these are all very good questions and all very good points, and I think that I'm going to have some good answers for you. So stay tuned.
Yeah, Heather,
When do you
hey,
think
Heather,
I would-
thanks so much.
when should I
Heather,
come
one thing we
back?
can do is backward. Okay, well, I was gonna say that. So I saw you, there's an upcoming meeting December 7th. I saw we'll have some of the folks here attend that one, the letter you sent us, but I think we could also accumulate more data from you for more districts, especially in rural frontier areas. So SSDA can be the conduit for that with our county soups. So I'll put together something so we get more input besides the people attended today. And maybe, I don't know, when do you think you can be ready? Maybe second week December, or what would you like to do?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
In December is fine.
Okay. And we can, there's 3 or 4 people that really, you can tell they're very passionate about it. We can help, develop, I think, other issues going on, but also the big 5 or 10 that we hear over and over to get to you, and hope we get us some answers.
Yes, I will.
And thanks again so much for hopping on today. Really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. I'm really, like I said, really excited to meet you all and get more involved.
Thanks,
We'll
Heather.
take you up on a bus to Modoc. You'll love it. You'll love Modoc. It's beautiful.
Anytime.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.
It's cold, but
Kinda-
it's beautiful.
Bye. Thank you, Heather.
So we've thrown out a lot of stuff. I don't know if any of y'all from the CDE want to say something, or, I don't want to cut you guys out and have you just listen. I don't know if you have anything to.
I know Andrew's got about 15 minutes. We probably all have about 10 or 15 minutes. So do you guys want to add some stuff on there, Jeff? Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious because all of this is kind of new to me as well. Andrew, let's say that I'm a small school district superintendent. What would be some next steps that I could do? Do I hold tight? What would you, from your perspective, kind of give like some solid next steps for us?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And actually, I'm looking down the list of attendees too. I'm seeing a few names that I used to work with as well when I was with school districts before we came to the Department of Ed. So rural mountain school district is kind of my roots, and was a maintenance operations transportation director and chief business official for a small rural school district. So I heard all those things you were saying. While we don't function in that same way, that's exactly why it was really helpful to have the ARB on the call. And then it sounds great that she's going to return with some customized answers and presentation on those items. I would say if I were in your shoes, and what we'd be recommending for a lot of folks is to continue to make those connections through Small School Districts Association. Also, the California Association of School Transportation Officials are going to be very involved in how those laws and regulations, and they have a legislative branch as well that works on when those statutes and regulations, if and when those come out, and say when are those deadlines. Those were the individuals that I worked closely with as a transportation manager in a small school district. And when she was talking about the truck and bus regulations sunsetting, I was kind of feeling older at that point, because I remember when they were just structuring those, and it was a lot of the work through small school districts, through CASTO and their legislative folks, and being able to attend those regulatory change meetings that got a lot of those timelines set and lengthened to allow some time for some of those transitions. That was all about, you know, bus emissions and all of those things, but the same thing goes for these kind of electric transitions and incentives, was making sure they're aware and getting those exemptions and things built in to allow the longest possible timeline for those until those kind of infrastructure and technology things catch up to what you need as a small school district or a rural school district. Definitely. So continue to make those contacts and stay involved with those. The other thing, let me share my screen for just a moment. I wanted to make sure.
Andrew, on that
Can
point,
I?
Jeremy
Yeah,
made-
sure.
Jeremy made a good point, right? So there's a big pot of money right now, right? And the people that can handle it will go in. It's like the high-speed network, you know, the smalls got left out of the first, you know, 3 or 4 waves.
Mhm.
Finally, some money came in after COVID, but Jeremy's got a good point where it'll be swallowed up. And then by the time the smalls have worked out these waivers or whatever we're going to do, that pot will be empty. So if you have any suggestions on that, I think they got to keep some money on the side for us, because we see this with facilities, technology. They just swallow it up, and by the time it gets up to our little schools, it's out, and they always say sorry.
Yeah,
Sick and tired of it.
absolutely.
Yeah, you want me to put you on screen
ahead.
save or
Yeah,
share
if I
screen? Here you
if
go.
I could share
There you
my
go.
screen, I just wanted to make sure you guys knew of a couple of
Yeah.
resources before I have to run away. And don't take that the wrong way. We're always here at the Office of School Transportation. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew of our website and where to find our office when it comes to questions, or to be able to talk with one of us consultants. There's 5 consultants here at the Department of Education that are specific to transportation, and we actually divide up into regions of the state. So we can certainly assist with those contacts or you know, tracking that down. So our website, I just put that up on the screen. We're cde.ca.gov/ls/TN. In fact, keep that website handy. In the upcoming weeks, there will be information going out through the industry too regarding some of the newer statutes on transportation plan. And while I can't speak in detail about those today, some of those things will be posted to that same website. So our website is, of course, a resource, along with I mentioned CASTO. The CASTO organization, California Association of School Transportation Officials, is another place where you can get news, information, and your transportation management could attend. They have business management forums, the overall state conferences, but they are also, like I mentioned, the legislative branch. While we can't advocate for legislation, you know, we're the technical experts for the legislature. The CASTO can, and they have individuals working for them if you have those same concerns, and they can start bringing those to the table for both regulatory and statutory changes when it comes to transportation legislation. So that's another great resource for you. And of course, just letting you know a little bit more about our office. Primarily, our work is in the we're statutorily tasked with the certification of the instructional personnel for school bus drivers. So we're the ones that create school bus instructors and school bus delegate behind the wheel trainers. But we also have other courses that we put on, including our transportation administrators course, our transporting students for special needs course, and then the main crux of our work is within the instructor certification program. So that's the main thing we do, but we do bring a wealth of experience, as I mentioned, of being transportation managers and so on. So if there's times when questions come up, our website, our information is available on there for the consultants here at our department. But yeah, if you guys have any other specific questions, I know listening to your conversation, I think the biggest thing is kind of at least it's nice to hear from Heather and them at CARB that they are not saying there's a specific date like we're hearing in the news and hearing from, of course, the bus salespeople. They know where the money's at, right? They're going to point you in the direction to where there's free money available. But what does that timeline look like? When do you have to get that done? And of course, as I think Tim, you mentioned, it's certainly incentive, right? It's something you're going, wow, that's a lot of money to just see pass by. And for some areas and some organizations, a bus or two could work in the meantime. So you hate to see it pass by, but you go, you have to think about that overall structure, right? You've got activity trips and all these other things to do. And if you're only a 2, 3, 4 bus operation and you make half of your fleet electric, you have to be thinking, okay, what happens when I do have that trip that needs to be taken and then that bus goes down and gosh forbid the other one has to be out on a route. How do you make that happen? One of the other things that a lot of folks have had to think about in those smaller rural areas is having, okay, if we're going to go down this route, what's our backup plan? Whether it's with a neighboring district or even knowing who your what school pupil activity bus or school bus contractors are in the area for when you need to call in the extra support. Say our trip bus isn't working and our other one's the electric. What do you do? And those are kind of some new avenues where people didn't have to even think about before because all the buses worked for every single trip or route that they need them to work on. So just something else to go out there. I'm hoping Heather would come back with some more information, kind of where that timeline looks and how to get involved with who is making the decisions on those timelines as well, and how do you get involved in influencing that.
Yeah, I went to the Casco website and I saw their executive board is definitely heavy with large districts, right? So we need to work with them. Do you recommend the executive director or the lobbyist they have there? Who's the go-to person, Andrew?
So for one of the things that I would first go to is they have chapters. So they have chapter presidents. And if you go to their each one of their chapter presidents, those individuals sit on the board and they represent a particular area of the state. And you'll see as they've been kind of laid out, they kind of get a mix where they've got large districts and small districts in particular chapters, and all of those kind of make the decision for that board of where they send those legislator or the legislative reps and their lobbyists in to work for you guys. One of the things they did open up just in the last couple of years is if you are an agency member, all of the members of your transportation department, all of those individuals become members as well. So it's pretty beneficial to just be an agency member instead of doing individual memberships.
Great, good tip, appreciate it. Anybody have a question for Andrew before he heads out?
Well, I think one of the issues, Tim, that the small rurals are dealing with up here, especially in Butte County, is if we can't get drivers, we're going to white fleets. And I know there's 3 school districts within 10 miles of me that couldn't get bus drivers, so they went and bought vans and sold their buses.
Yeah.
So I think if in the big picture, and Andrew, since you're with CDE, if we can't get drivers, we're not going to be putting drivers in electric buses. We're going to be running our vans. And since I used to have 19 drivers, I have 5. So I had to reduce my routes to 5. And I'm running a huge white fleet right now just to get kids to school. And they're not electric.
Nope.
So that's a problem too.
Yeah.
No, Andrew, one of the things you said.
I appreciate you saying it. Yeah.
And Andrew, one of the things you said just triggered another thing. For the bus brand we'd like to run with, it's Thomas. The closest mechanic we get is Sacramento. So either we're towing a bus to Sacramento or we're waiting for Sacramento to get up here. And the lead time I got was at least 2 months to get a bus repaired at this point. So, it just keeps adding up. And we went, by the way, Corey, we went from 9 to 3. We had 9 drivers 10 years ago. We're at 3 now.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we see the challenge ahead of us.
I'm hearing exactly
ahead,
what you're
Andrew.
saying. Of course, you know, us from the Office of School Transportation are huge proponents of them being on the yellow school bus, but we certainly know the realities of what's going on. Of course, you're kind of you know, going one way or the other, right? You're saying, well, either I'm gonna push really hard and do what we can to get the school bus out there, or you're ending up spending more, putting more risk out there when you're you know, putting them in the passenger vehicle or in smaller vehicles. We certainly know that. So we're also on the side, not advocacy wise, but we're certainly on the side of working with the legislature right now, who are really pushing hard to be able to fund and get school buses as universal availability of that service with the funding behind it. And then of course we have to deal with being able to that of course comes with being able to to attract your school bus drivers as well. So we've been working very diligently to make sure they understand all the caveats of that, as they want to get all school kids in the state of California to have a mandated ride to school. But I'm certainly hearing you. It's a struggle. Even we're in the instructor world, we're filling classes as fast as we can with the instructor need throughout the state. We're probably at our lowest point of having the number of instructors and trainers throughout. So it's kind of the same thing going on. So certainly we keep pushing on that end, and we certainly understand the need, and you know, would encourage everybody to watch and wait as they and certainly advocate on the side of, if they're going to mandate those type of things, that the funding come along with it, and enough to be able to let you guys attract and train and keep school bus drivers, and being able to have that yellow fleet. So we're hearing you.
Other comments
Well,
from
my
the group?
niece is making driverless Uber drones, so maybe we'll go with driverless buses someday. I don't know, Andrew. We'll see.
Andrew, I have
You've been
a-
on a school bus. We're not a proponent of that one.
Andrew, I have a question.
Okay.
So if you guys' main job is the training of it, is the training going to change majorly for the trainers and the bus drivers with the electric bus, and then also with mechanics?
That's a great question. So the way we've addressed that in the training world is it's a school bus. A school bus is a school bus is a school bus. Ultimately, it's a different drivetrain and things. So what we have is a supplement. So for any of your instructors or trainers existingly, they through their DTACs, or driver trainer advisory councils, which happen in different areas throughout the state, we've been distributing a supplement to our behind the wheel guide that they can get from us. Certainly that supplement says, you know, contact the manufacturer, look at the OEM handbook, all of those type of things. But that is something that is a supplement to the behind the wheel guide that they can use to reinforce their training on those electric vehicles. So that's available to our instructional personnel.
So that's a choice for the districts, or is that going to be mandatory eventually?
Well, what it comes down to is, in statute, the driver must be proficient with the vehicle as they operate it. So as they make them proficient, they have to make sure they're knowledgeable of all of these particular points. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what they're doing already. So it's not really like there's going to be a new manual about electric buses. It's just, when you're teaching it, here's things to reinforce and make sure drivers are doing to be safe.
Don't touch the orange
All
cable.
right.
That's what I
Don't-
learned.
yes, don't
touch the orange cable.
There's a
What
lot.
happens with
Yeah.
the orange cable?
Apparently you
What
die.
happens with the orange
It's
cable?
it's the bad one.
Oh, okay.
Many
the
volts in
power
the
line.
orange cable. Yeah, don't play with those. But they do need to know what they are. They need to know whether to inspect them, so that because it's kind of like the fuel line for the bus, right? Yeah, if that were to get severed or that were to get damaged, they ain't going anywhere. So there are some things on that to make sure drivers are aware of all of those different things about their vehicles, and what to do in an emergency, and how to identify what to do if there is emergency personnel that need to God forbid, cut into a bus to be
Mm.
able to rescue people out of it. So there's all information on that supplement. So any of your instructors or trainers certainly can contact us, and we'll provide that to them.
Here's my last thing. I know you have to go, but be thinking about this and you can contact him later. But is there anything we can do to partner with you or with any other group to, I mean, we already have a hard enough time finding bus drivers. I'm sure big school does too, but small schools do. And then trainers are just as hard. The distance I have to send for a while, I had to send my bus drivers till we decided to train our own. Our own train was quite a while. So if is there something that we can be doing or thinking? Is there some kind of promotion that we need to know about? You don't have to answer me now, but be thinking about that because I don't see it getting any easier for us. So.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the biggest piece, and this is more from, I'll put on my Casto hat at this point, is get involved with Casto, get involved with those legislative changes that they want to do, the more that they want to move towards making sure all kids have that ride to school, means they're going to foot some funding. That also kind of put some funding for our department as well, because we've put in changes to say as the industry expands, we need to expand with it to be able to service that industry. But I think the biggest piece is being involved with the California Association of School Transportation officials and letting them know that yeah, we think it's great that this is the first time in about 4 decades there's been some serious talk in the state legislature about pushing more money into transportation, and that's a huge benefit for everybody, even if it does sound like a mountain task to get every student a ride to school. That is earth-shattering because it was not since the 80s that we saw them actually do generous increases to school transportation funding. So Casto is going to be a huge piece on that. And in fact, we were just meeting with their advocates a couple of weeks ago, and the more people they can have on board with Casto and their advocacy, the more traction they can get.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Really
Thanks, Andrew.
appreciate
Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here.
Absolutely.
And
And
just, you
know that we're here for you. Give us a holler.
great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew.
I know we will.
Appreciate it.
Tim and all, thank you guys for your questions. If there's anything else, feel free to shoot it over to myself, Tara, Tim, because
Okay.
like Tim said, this now we kind of understand this is it's going to take some time. So
Yep.
we're going to work to get Heather back in front of us with a bit more information, and that will be a next step for us. Anything else or any other burning questions right now?
Well, I think our overall theme, I'm gonna go back to what Jeremy said, we got to get on the front end of this, right?
Yeah.
It's if it starts going too far down the road. So I just emailed the executive director of Casco right away and get on that and get some data, but we don't want to let this go down too far down the road. It sounds like they're still massaging things and creating things, so maybe we can work on some solutions immediately. And this is not just I was on a national meeting today, very similar issues around the country around this, just busing in general and challenges. So we're not alone, but we definitely got to get on the front end of this. So we will. And
Yeah.
Jeff, and is it Tara or Tara? I heard him say a different name today. Is it Tara?
Really? No, it's Terra, like terracotta, like the little pots.
Okay, good. I trash names, so it takes me. I get a little more sensitive now. Terracotta. I
Tim,
like it.
what's my
Okay.
name? What's my
Hey,
last name, Tim?
Ruth. Ruth. She's the daughter of a cop, and now she has an electrician as a husband. That's the spectrum, Jeremy. All right, you guys, take care. Tom, I'm gonna give you a quick call about something.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Corey. Good luck tonight, Corey.
Yeah,
Good
hey,
luck,
Tom,
everybody.
thanks for your question about the expectation, the date. That had me kind of, so thank you for that.
Yeah.